Is there anything new in the New Testament? The more I read scripture, the more I'm convinced that there is nothing overtly new in the New Testament that we don't see in some way in the Old Testament. And we could talk about technical literary allusion and echoes, direct quotations, and all of that. But sometimes it is really just so refreshing when we encounter it. And let me show you what I mean. We've been working through a sermon series in the Gospel according to St. Luke on Sunday mornings, and we're at the point in chapter 5 where Jesus encounters Simon in the fishing boat. Jesus is teaching the crowds early in the morning, and Simon and his companions have been fishing all night long. Professional fishermen by trade. They know what they're doing. They've likely had this profession handed on or handed down to them by their fathers. And Jesus gets in Simon's boat and he tells Simon to lower his nets again. And you could just imagine Simon just like, oh my goodness, I've been fishing all night long and you want me to lower my nets. But he does it. And he catches more fish than he can handle by himself. So he has to recruit his companions to come over and help him pull up the nets to where the nets are tearing. And then Simon falls down at the feet of Jesus and echoes the same prophetic confession of the prophets in the Old Testament. Depart from me, Lord, because I'm a sinner. I'm a sinful man. I am a man of unclean lips. Like all of that imagery. But what's really interesting and really striking is what happens next. But I want to take you to the Old Testament first. Into a short passage in the prophet of Jeremiah. And what's going on in the context of Jeremiah is Yahweh has declared that he is going to scatter the nation of Judah, that they've rebelled against him, they've prostituted themselves to other gods and worshipped other gods, they've turned their backs on Yahweh, so he declares that he's going to scatter them among the nations. But in verse 14, he says that days are coming, declares Yahweh, when it will no longer be said, as Yahweh lives, who led the Israelites up out of the land of Egypt, but only as Yahweh lives, who led the Israelites up out of the land of the north and from the lands where he had driven them. And this is what gets really interesting. Verse 16, look, I am sending for many fishermen, declares Yahweh. I'm going to send the fishermen to gather my people, to catch my people Israel, to bring them back. Then Jesus stands in the boat of Simon Peter, a fisherman, and tells him, do not be afraid, for now you will be catching people. Yahweh declares through the prophet Jeremiah that he will send the fishermen, and Jesus stands in Simon's boat, sending the fishermen. All of what we see happening in Jesus has been foretold, and when you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's just so refreshingly beautiful.